All right, let's do this. The average man in America lives to be 75 years old. At least that's the average life expectancy. A woman, 80 years old. So we've all heard that women live longer than men, which is why I always tease my husband that I'm going to be the one in charge of having to carry out his how I want to go when that time comes. And he gets off lucky not having to deal with it. And if you're interested, I actually want my body to be donated to the Body Farm in Kentucky, whereas my husband wants to be fed to tigers. And I wish that I was joking. The tiger is his favorite animal, and that's the way he wants to go. So wish me luck on that one. But anyways, that's not what this podcast is about. While I can't explain all the reasons that women on average live longer, I do want to talk about a recent study that was published about women versus men when it comes to exercise and the benefits that they're able to get from exercise, and kind of play around with the idea, is there something that men can do different to start outliving women when it comes to their everyday routines? I know that you're wondering how those things really go together, but I promise it's all going to come together at the end in just a second. But first, welcome to the Fit Women's Weekly podcast. I'm Kendall. I'm an NASM certified personal trainer, an RKC certified kettlebell coach, and an NASM certified nutrition coach. And for the past 17 years, I have made women's fitness and nutrition my passion and my job. And I am so stoked that I get to be here with you to share that passion and that knowledge. I share everything with you. And there's only one thing that I ask in return, and that's to ask the question, are you subscribed yet to the podcast? If you're watching this on YouTube, are you subscribed to the channel? And make sure to hit that little notification bell because it really does help to bring awareness. Every time somebody interacts with this channel, YouTube goes, this is interesting. Let's help other people find this a little bit easier. And the same with all audio platforms too. So no matter what it is that you listen to your podcast on, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. And if you are able to leave a review on that particular platform, do me a favor, just write, Kendall's awesome. Love the information that she shares. Let's try to get everybody that listens to actually be a subscriber. Again, this is totally free information. The only thing that I ask for is just for you to take 2 seconds to hit that little button. It's not a lot, right? But it really does make a big difference for me and this community. So I really do appreciate it. All right, so did you do it yet? I'm waiting. Hit it? Okay, let's jump into it. So the article that I want to talk about today is called Women Can Exercise Less Often Than Men and Still See Greater Health Benefits, New Study Shows. So like last week, I'm going to read through the article and then I'm going to react and give my feedback and maybe pull some extra information from around the world and the science community to help shed a little bit more light. Hopefully you guys find this interesting. I know that I do, as somebody who is obviously very, very active and as someone who is married to someone that is very, very active. And both people are very competitive. I love being like, hey, Dan, did you see this? Speaking of Dan, y'all, this week is our 19-year anniversary. That's crazy. I don't feel like I'm old enough to have been with one person for 19 years, but here we are. So go us. All right, here we go. Hopefully we have another 19 years together if we at least keep up with our exercise routine. So let's jump into this article. Women may see greater health benefits from exercising regularly than men do, according to a recent study. Now, little feedback. The study was originally published in the Journal of American College of Cardiology with the title, Sex Difference and Association of Physical Activity with an All-Cause and Cardiovascular Mortality. So if you want to go check it out, I will make sure to post both the article that I'm reading from as well as the original study article down in the show notes. Women who engage in 2.5 hours of moderate physical activity or 75 minutes of vigorous exercise per week were 24% less likely to die when compared to women who didn't exercise regularly within that same time period, according to the paper published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. So at least it did bring it back to what that original paper was. So let's say that again. Women who engaged in 2.5 hours of moderate physical activity or 75 minutes of vigorous exercise per week were 24% less likely to die when compared to women who didn't exercise regularly. What I want to focus on here is that the article is talking about longevity and overall health, and not just looking at exercise as a weight loss tool, because definitely, especially as women, that's how we oftentimes look at it, right? But exercise is so much more than just trying to burn calories or be a certain size. And what I do love about exercise, though, is that oftentimes it's the gateway to looking at it as a different way. Like, I got into exercising when I was 19 years old because I wanted to lose weight. I had gained the freshman 40 my freshman year of college. And so I wanted to exercise to help me lose weight. However, once I started realizing the benefits of it and it just became part of my everyday life, I started doing it consistently. I started to feel better mentally, physically, and then I started feeling strong, feeling confident. And that's what drove me to continue to exercise, not just a way to look a certain way. I'm always curious to know what classifies someone titling their workouts as moderate to vigorous. So in the study, I kind of started thinking, okay, were they tracking each person's actual workouts in order for the scientist that was collecting the data to be able to say this is vigorous, this is moderate, or these people aren't exercising? Or were people able to rate on their own, I was working out vigorously? Because that can be very, very objective. It's very easy to do the same workout, but experience two very different training experiences. And what I mean by that is that you can make a workout as hard or as easy as you want. You can go for a 30-minute jog, right? And that would just be a moderate workout. Or you can go for a 30-minute interval workout, in which case that would be a very vigorous workout. But two people doing them might take it on a lot differently. So those like people that are doing their sprints, I have seen people that it doesn't matter if you're running 5 miles or a 400-meter run, they're going to run the same exact pace. And so that person that's running 400 meters at their 5-mile pace isn't necessarily doing a vigorous workout, but in their head, because they are technically doing interval distance work, they might think that that is vigorous. So I just kind of want to know, where is that classification coming from? And then I also find it interesting as what is considered vigorous exercise. So per the American Heart Association, vigorous exercise, also known as high intensity exercise, is defined as activities that require 6 or more METs, and a MET is just a unit of measure used to classify intensity, and produce large increases in breathing or heart rate. The American Heart Association says that for an activity to be vigorous, you need to be working at 70 to 85% of your max heart rate. Max heart rate is 220 minus your age. So for me, I'll just go ahead. I know technically I'm still 39, but I have a week and 4 days until I turn 40, which is crazy. So it would be 220 minus 40, which would then take my max heart rate to 180. And then 75% of that, 180, that's 90, that's 45, 90. So that's 135 would be the lower end of what's considered my vigorous. And I did do sprint work today, which I'm going to talk about at the end. And I would have met that classification of quote unquote vigorous exercise. So there you go. In case you're wondering, vigorous exercise, that's what it is. 70 to 85% of your max heart rate. Back to the article. In contrast, men who exercised at the same amount of time each week had only a 15% lower chance of dying than those who didn't. So remember, women had 24% chance, men only had 15%. That's almost, it's 9%, but I was going to say it's almost 10% difference. It's pretty significantly difference, pretty big. The study analyzed data for over 400,000 U.S. adults that spanned from 1997 to 2017, and the exercise habits of those individuals were self-reported. Okay, so that does kind of go back to that original question that I asked about how were exercise or how are workouts being classified by those people that were doing it, and it is self-reported. That it is just so hard. Anytime that you're doing an analysis of someone's personal habits, whether it is nutrition, exercise, sleep, those are very hard to get real data because sometimes people like to fudge themselves, not even necessarily intentionally. They just might say that they're pushing harder, or some people will even not give themselves credit enough, right? So it is sometimes hard to get real concrete data. Researchers also found that women were able to see greater health benefits with less exercise than their male counterparts, which obviously we had already seen that. But the question is, why? Why is this that women are seeing a 24% increase in their longevity, whereas men who exercise regularly are only seeing 15? Does it have to do with body composition differences, hormones, just body size in general? I don't know. It kind of just makes me wonder. Men who engaged in about 5 hours of moderate to vigorous exercise each week lowered their chances of dying by 18% in comparison to men that didn't, and women were able to see the same reduction in their risk of death with only about 2.5 hours of the same level. So men were having to work out for 5 hours, whereas women only were having to work out for 2.5 hours, and yet even in that half time, women were seeing better results. Not surprised. I am a little bit surprised by that big of a jump, but it is very, very interesting to me. I think what the study shows is that there is something to it. Well, clearly there's statistical difference enough to kind of make you go, what's going on here? And this study helps open up the doors for very specific research to understand why there's a difference. According to Dr. Batal Ashini, I am so sorry if I said that wrong. It is Ashinne, a non-invasive cardiologist at the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine at UHealth, who was not involved in the study. So this is just a doctor who is checking it out and going, this is interesting data. The reason why women may have stronger benefits from regular exercise than men isn't clear, though it's possible it boils down to the differences in anatomy, the study's researchers told CBS News. They noted that men on average have proportionally larger hearts, wider lung airways, greater lung diffusion capacity, and larger muscle fibers than women. And then that's what the publication wrote. But my little note says, it's also known just in general that larger things tend to have a shorter life than its smaller counterparts. Like think about dogs. Obviously we know that smaller dogs tend to have a longer lifespan than bigger dogs, and I'm sure that has to do with the heart size and the things that they had mentioned above. But so it doesn't surprise me that women having a naturally smaller body physique tend to outlive men who bigger, and again, probably because of anatomy. But there are some limitations to the study that people should keep in mind. The study was observational, right? And that's exactly what I talked about. So research can't confirm without a doubt that the lower risk of mortality was a result of the exercise, meaning that people who exercise probably also have other healthier habits than people that don't exercise. So is it 100% because they're exercising, or are they eating healthier? Are they sleeping better? Are they hydrating? Are there other factors that are part of their life that is often on top of exercise? It also doesn't consider lifestyle habits like eating choices or tobacco or alcohol use, says Dr. Nadish Gard, a cardiologist at Memorial Hermann in Houston, who also wasn't involved in the study. So this got me curious actually about lifestyles for specifically American men and women, because obviously we could pull information from every single country, but then that would make this podcast, y'all, like 5 hours long. You don't want to do that. So we're going to stick to America. But it got me curious about American men and women that according to the CDC, almost 58% of adult men report drinking alcohol over the last 30 days compared to 49% of adult women. So again, about a 10% difference. We keep kind of seeing that 10% difference when it comes to statistics of men versus women. And men are also more likely to binge drink than women. Approximately 21% of men reporting binge drinking compared to only 13% of women, which is an 8% difference. Which binge drinking, because I'm always curious of like, when I think of binge drinking, I know what it is from my job, but in my head, I always go back to like college, right? Of getting like the days of college life, of going a little cray-cray. But binge drinking is actually defined as 5 drinks for men and 4 drinks for women on one specific occasion at a time. I cannot remember the last time that I personally had 4 drinks in one night. And that's for a couple reasons. One, I'm a lightweight, but I'm also a lightweight because I don't drink very often. And two is I have this thing in my head that stops me. I love a good glass of wine. I have about 1 to 2 glasses of wine every single weekend. I love tasting it. I love trying new wines. But anything past 1 or 2 glasses, and I start to go, I'm going to feel like crap tomorrow. And unfortunately, with my job, I work 7 days a week. And the thought of having to get up on a Saturday or a Sunday after drinking more than I'm used to, and then getting up and going to the gym to film videos, to record social media content, to do, we do a lot of images for our website, it stops me cold in my tracks. So I can't remember the last time that I binged, but 4 drinks at the same time doesn't really sound that crazy either, and seems pretty almost average of what I see people around me drinking when I do go out. But I do find it interesting. And as far as smoking is concerned, I couldn't find a lot of recent data, but from 2016, about 13.5% of women use tobacco and 16.5% of men. So not that big of a difference, 13.5 to 16.5. So I just kind of found that interesting. Again, is it because of the exercise that we see this difference between men and women, or is it because of these lifestyles that more men are drinking than women, more men partake in binge habits? And I know that I should pull this off, and this could be a whole other episode, but in general, in a married household with a man and a woman, that a lot of times a woman is the one, not every time, of course there's exceptions, I'm just talking about majority of the time the women are the ones getting the food and being in charge of dinners, and at least planning out the dinners and stuff. So also makes me kind of curious. So just some interesting data that could ask, is it the exercise or the on average healthier lifestyle choices? That was the article, not me. Exercise regularly is great for heart health in general. I think the big message is physical activity helps to reduce cardiovascular mortality, period. Dr. Garg tells NBC Make It. Garg and Assign emphasize that the biggest takeaway from the findings should be just how important it is to fit exercise into your weekly routine for optimal life. Yes, as always. But exercise should include, like, this obviously focuses a lot on cardiovascular health, aka cardiovascular fitness, getting your cardio done. But healthy fitness routine should include both strength training for muscle, bone, and metabolic health, and obviously cardio for your cardiovascular health. And this article obviously isn't focusing on strength training because that's not the point of the article, but I do think that it is really important to include that. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services suggests that the Americans get at least 2.5 to 5 hours per week of moderate physical exercise, 1 hour and 15 minutes to 2 hours and 30 minutes each week of vigorous physical exercise, or an equal amount of both, according to the 2018 physical activity guidelines. And I've actually done an updated podcast talking about the World Health Organization and their updated requirements or suggestions for physical fitness. So definitely go back and check out that episode. But really it comes down to, this goes back, I think, to overcomplicating things, of going like, oh my gosh, am I supposed to track how often I work out per week? Oh, I only got in 30 minutes today. Do I have to get in 40 minutes tomorrow? And instead, it's about just trying to move your body in some sort of focused way, intentional way, most days of the week. Right. Even people get so stuck into like, oh my gosh, I have to take a rest day. Rest days can look different for everybody. If you've had 5 really kind of short workouts where you're just working out for 10 to 15 minutes to move your body, then on a Sunday, you can get out and go for a bike ride. You can do active rest. You can do a light jog to get in that extra time. So everything's going to be a little bit different. But at the heart of it, instead of trying to focus so much on like, I have to work out for 1 hour and 15 minutes of vigorous exercise per week, just intentionally move your body every single day and you'll be good to go. Just get the movement in and plan. Okay, I'm going to do 2 runs per week. I'm going to try to get 10,000 steps per day. And I don't look at 10,000 steps per day as being like saying that that's what you have to do. I simply look at that as a way to encourage you to increase movement and have some sort of goal per day. I think that the study shows that nothing over 7,000 steps is going to help increase the benefits of your life any, but getting that 10,000 does set yourself up for some kind of movement goal every day to help you hit these time goals, right? Without actually having to focus so much on like, wait, where am I in the week with my exercise? No, it's overcomplicating. We are so good at overcomplicating fitness and healthy living nowadays. These are the best exercises for heart health that Garg and Astein recommend. And I cannot wait to see these suggestions. Aerobic exercises like running, biking, dancing, or swimming. Absolutely. Anything that gets your heart rate up and keeps your heart rate up for a long amount of time so you go from an anaerobic state to an aerobic state using oxygen, which is what cardiovascular fitness is. And then their second one is strength training, which can be done, which can include weightlifting, push-ups, and body weight squats. Obviously, I've already mentioned this. I 100% agree, but I do find it incredibly strange the way that that's written, that you can do weightlifting, push-ups, or squats, as if to say you can do weightlifting, go grab your weights, whether that's dumbbells, kettlebells, barbells, or just knock out push-ups. That's all you got to do. Whereas a push-up is a form or is a particular exercise in strength training, but you got to do a little bit more than just push-ups, right? So instead, it should have read strength training, which can include weightlifting or body weight movements that can include exercises such as push-up squats, lunges, bridges. You guys know the drill. I just found that very interesting. It doesn't have to be that they have to be on a treadmill all the time. Yes, whatever exercise they enjoy and will reasonably increase their heart rate is perhaps the best way to do it, because then they'll actually do it. If they enjoy the activity, then they'll keep doing it. That is the bottom line, you guys. That is, I 100% with this doctor, that the best exercise is the exercise that you will actually do consistently. If you hate working out, you just haven't found the right thing that works for you. Maybe what you've been doing is a little bit boring, because at the heart of it, we do like to be challenged. Boredom doesn't keep us coming back for more. So make sure that you're having a training program that actually challenges you. Even if at the get-go you're going like, oh my God, this is really hard. The more you do it, you start to respect that challenge a little bit more and come back and see what your body's capable of doing. Or it could be that it's completely new. And I was actually just talking to a class about this yesterday, because we've started a new 8-week cardio program in Fit Women's Weekly Live. So with Fit Women's Weekly Live, I was talking to some people because I asked them at the start of, we do 8-week specialized training programs, and I always ask them, what is it that you want to focus on for this 8 weeks? And then I'll take everyone's suggestions and get the most common one, and then that's what I'll build the program off. And for this particular section, everyone was like, I need more cardio. So I was like, okay, cool. And some people are like, I don't like cardio. And the response that I had to that is, it's not that you don't like cardio, it's that you're not good at cardio, or you feel like you're out of shape with your cardiovascular fitness. And the only way to get in shape is to do more of it. And as you start to see yourself get better at something, all of a sudden you start to not dislike it as much. We tend to not like things that we're not good at. And so if right now you find yourself not liking working out, it's probably because it's brand new to you and you feel very out of shape. You feel very weak. You feel, and it doesn't have to be like, most of you guys watching this podcast or listening to this podcast probably already work out consistently, right? However, if you are starting to think about trying something new, maybe you're used to doing dumbbells or a barbell style program and you're thinking about getting more into kettlebells, the first couple of times you do it, you might say, I don't like this. It hurts my wrist. I'm not good at it. And my response to that is, you just gave yourself the excuse. You're not good at it. But if you keep coming back and you keep practicing and you keep learning, you get good at it, and all of a sudden you have a little bit more of an affinity for it, and you'll start to see the results start to show. So if right now you're like, I don't like working out consistently, I don't like doing cardio, then I'd encourage you to just keep pushing through and give it a good solid at least 6 weeks before you say, I tried it and I didn't like it. Promise me that. So just a little bit food for thought. And that's where the article ended. But before I end, I do have a couple of things to finish up on. So let me know your thoughts and feelings on that. I just kind of thought that it was interesting that we as women, like men, just can't catch up with us when it comes to our longevity. We're always going to be able to push a little bit ahead of them. So I thought that that was really interesting. And I also love to know that the things that I'm doing are hopefully going to allow me to keep doing what I love for a lot longer moving forward. And I'm excited for more of this research to come out. I would love to know the why in all of this, as to why do we get the benefits that we do? Why do we get more benefits than men? And just kind of see what can come out of this over the next couple of years. Now, as far as the podcast goes, I have two little things that I want to cover real fast. Number one is podcast shoutouts. I mentioned this 2 weeks ago that I want to start sharing podcasts that I love that I think that you guys might appreciate as well, because I'm going to guess this isn't your only podcast that you listen to. So actually I have 3 podcasts that I'm going to share this week. Don't worry, I'll keep this short and sweet. But number one, The Period Whisperer, for all things perimenopause. I've talked about this one before. However, I keep having people reach out to me saying, I am perimenopausal right now and I would love to learn some more information. So where I go for all things, because I also am perimenopausal, that's me. I go to my friend Bria. She is the Period Whisperer, and she talks so much and is so passionate about this subject, about fitness, nutrition, hormone changes, mood swings, all the things. So go check out her podcast, The Period Whisperer, to learn more and help all of us navigate this insanely hormonal, crazy time. Number 2 is American History Tellers. This is my personal favorite. I have said on here before, I do fitness for a living. I am always researching competitors. I'm always looking to see what other people put out. But when it comes to listening to stuff on just like my free time or during my runs, I don't listen to fitness and health podcasts. I need to take a little bit of a break. I think I deserve that. And my favorite stuff to turn to are biographical podcasts and historical podcasts. And one of my favorite ones is American History Tellers. And they just do like 3 to 5 part series on different events that have happened here in American history. And the one that I just finished was the Underground Railroad, which obviously I knew what the Underground Railroad was, but I had no idea that it started as early as it did in like the 1820s and how major of an event. I don't know. I just love learning about it. But more specifically, I learned more about Harriet Tubman. And I'm not going to give anything away, but y'all, I've got goosebumps right now just saying her name, because that woman was amazing and deserves so much more of a spotlight than what she gets in American history. But yeah, all I'm going to say is that she was a 5-foot-tall firecracker who changed this country for the better, and you should listen to this podcast. I recently told Dan after I listened to this that if I was able to sit down with anybody dead or alive for dinner, I had changed my opinion of who it would be, and it would be Harriet Tubman. And he was kind of laughing at me going like, why would you want to sit down with her when you just listen to her biography? You already know. And I was like, because there's something about hearing the stories from that person's own mouth versus reading it from tales that have been passed down over different generations, right? And I want to hear from her the experiences that she went through and her time here. Being from Charleston, South Carolina, we were taught a very different history when it comes to the Civil War when I was younger, like 30 years ago. And so now that I'm learning the quote unquote like truth and an unbiased view of it, she was here during the Civil War in South Carolina and did amazing things during that time as working for the Union as a freaking spy, y'all. She was 5'0" and was a spy for the Union. It's amazing. Anyways, go check out American History Tellers. It is so good. I love it. It's my favorite. And then my third podcast to share with you guys is Nicole Kalin from This Is Woman's Work podcast, where she shares just a ton of mental things that women go through. She lifts you up. She talks mindset, business, and life to help us feel our strongest and our best. And I'm actually going to shout out to Nicole because I am currently reaching out to other podcasters that I think have similar audiences. I will be very clear and transparent on that. It's one of the ways that I am trying to grow this podcast. And she was one of the people that I reached out to. And I said, hey, I'm trying to reach out to other women podcasters to help share one another's stuff. Would you be interested in that? And she was very generous in responding back and just simply said, thank you so much for reaching out, but I'm going to be truly transparent. I am not quote unquote into fitness. And I don't like to talk about it really on my podcast because of that. I try to work out, but I don't like it. I do it because I know it's right for me, but thank you so much for reaching out. And I know you're probably going like, why are you talking about her then if she said no to you? And because I just was so appreciative of her honest response. She didn't, I get pitches all the time from people and I send things to people all the time. And for her to actually take the time to respond with a no versus just ignore me, I found a lot of respect in that. And I responded back to her saying, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time that you actually took to write back and with such a thoughtful response back. I get that fitness isn't for everybody, but I also want to be clear with you that my job in fitness isn't to create a certain body. It's to simply try to encourage women to live their fitness, to be healthy, to feel strong in all aspects of their life, physically and mentally. And so I just wanted to let you know that. And I also want to let you know, I don't always like working out too, right? I have to struggle with it. We all have those motivational parts. And I just said, you know what, because of your honesty, I do love your podcast and I would still love to shout it out. And then she called back to me and was like, wow, thank you. So, it was like a back and forth. So anyway, go check out Nicole's podcast. This is women's work. I really respect her, what she puts out. And I think that you guys would like it too. And then number 2, last point before we head on out of here is a workout of the week. I am terrible about this. I used to share a workout of the week every single podcast for a couple of years ago. I started to get a little bit more into it last year, and then I fell off the bandwagon again. But I want to get back for real of sharing a workout from my training each week, whether it is a Fit Women's Weekly Live workout or something that I'm doing on my own outside of Fit Women's Weekly Live. I want to just kind of encourage you guys to get outside of your comfort zone. And if you want to try these workouts, you're more than welcome to do that. If you love them and you're like, wow, I really like this, then go visit fitwomensweekly.com and you can actually sign up to try Fit Women's Weekly Live for free. And you can do these workouts with me. I film every workout live from start to finish. You can hit play. Even if it's not live, you can hit play when it feels right for you, when you have time, and it'll make you feel as if you're doing it live with me. And one of the things that I love now about our new space is that it is a garage gym. So when you hit go, I want you to feel like we are in a space together. It's very homey, but in a very cool way. And I want to bring you into my garage to work out. So definitely consider that. However, today's workout is not a Fit Women's Weekly Live workout. It is for my personal cardio training to stay on theme with today's topic, but also because today actually kickstarted a new training program for me. For the past, I would say 3+ years, I've gotten into the bad habit with my running of just getting outside, running, doing steady state. And I've talked about this before, that running to me is my mental way to just breathe, be by myself, get the day started. And I do it 3 days a week. But every run has been about the same thing. I haven't been pushing to get better. In fact, my running has actually gotten worse over the past couple of years because of that. Dan and I were just kind of going over my training recently because I was trying to set some new goals. And he goes, well, what are you going to change? And now that the temperatures are warming up a little bit, I'm also doing a new running route because I'm at a different studio space. My morning routine's a little bit different. I'm just inspired to change up my running routine versus changing up other aspects of my training. So I want to get back into a more focused running plan where I have different types of running routines. So I'm going to be doing speed work, I'm going to be doing a tempo run, and I'm going to be doing a long run. Basically, that's what you should be doing if you're training for a race, right? Those are the 3 types of runs that you should put into your own training practices. So today started my first speed work. in years. And it was a really good one. It's very hard. I prefer doing speed work either at a track or on a treadmill just because it's a little bit more, I don't know, I'm just more motivated. It's easier to see how you're pushing yourself versus if you're trying to do it out on a road and doing it by yourself. But I don't have access to a treadmill. I don't have a close track nearby. So it was hard, but I did it. And so here's what it is. I went back to my old roots, not my old, well, I guess root is the right of it, is the right word. I pulled out one of my old training programs, and this was one that was in there, and very easy. This is why I started with this one, since this is my first day back to speed work. It is 1 minute at a very quick time, as fast as you can go, then 1 minute rest. 2 minutes fast, 2 minutes rest. And by rest, I just mean a quick walk. I'm not like stopping. And then 3 minute run as fast as you can, 3 minute rest, 4 minute rest, 5 minute rest. And then you work your way back down. So it's 1 to 5. And then you don't repeat the 5. You go back from 5 to 4, 3, 2, 1. And I tried to keep it at a 5K pace or faster for the entire workout. And yeah, it got done. It's a 50-minute workout. But then by the time I was done, I covered about 6 miles. And then my goal is I will repeat this workout probably every 2 to 3 weeks, trying to increase the distance so that I'm working to try to increase the time or the speed that I'm running during those hard interval times. So yeah, that was one of my favorites back in the day, and it was still my favorite today. It went by very, very, very quickly, and just a great way to get back into the swing of things, get back into challenging myself. So I'll keep you guys posted on how all of that goes. But that's it. That was my speed workout, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And make sure you go check out those podcasts, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Check out Fit Women's Weekly so that you can try Fit Women's Weekly live. And if you're like, I love you, but I am already obsessed with my training program, it pushes me, I'm seeing results, well, good for you. But there are other ways that you can still support the channel, whether that is by following me on social media, Kendall Boyle Fitness on Insta, that's where I'm the most active, or you can buy me a coffee, because I do love a very good coffee. And I'm drinking out of my 32 kilogram kettlebell mug today. My coffee death by coffee or something like that. I don't know. It's my favorite coffee with a little bit of cream, warmed up, frothed. It's so good. I told Dan, I think that I finally have mastered making coffee to the point that I like my coffee more than a Starbucks coffee. So that's saying something. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Let me know if you found this helpful. And if you have any tips, questions, suggestions, or you find anything interesting in the news floating around that we should break down, send it my way, Kendall Boyle Fitness, or Kendall at fitwomensweekly.com. All right, mwah, mwah. Bye.